Yes.
What does that signify? Shift of the curve.
This shift, if you are healthy, your working hours increase. That is this signifies that shift.
Your leisure as well as your working hours both can increase if you are healthy. Yeah, one is unhealthy state, one is a healthy state.
Yes.
Upper one is more healthier.
More healthier. Upper one is more healthier. So the budget constraint is upward. Now, after these theories came, people started looking at health from historical perspective, and there was this study was done by Prof. Actually, he also got Nobel Prize for this study, where he had shown how health and nutrition, from historical perspective, he had shown how developed countries, with the improvement in health and nutrition, productivity increased. So we traced the entire history to show that from 1750 onward, we tried to show how with improved nutrition, productivity increased, and that contributed to the growth of these countries. But if you read his book, it is very interesting. It shows that how people did not have capacity to work. In olden days, in these developed countries, in the initial stages of their growth, people did not have capacity to work because they were not well fed, because they were not taking good nutrition. So as a result, they could not really work for long hours, and this affected their productivity and their contribution to growth. So as this industrial revolution started, income generated faster, people were well fed. This improved their nutrition, their health, and this in turn contributed to per capita income growth. So that's how he had shown how health and nutrition are important. So this is what he has shown to developed countries. And the write-up is very interesting to read. If you get his book, how these things are so important in the productivity of even these countries. Which today we always focus on developing countries, but the same thing happened in developed countries as well. So that's how we then related that with developing countries. How if health and nutrition is improved in developing countries, productivity can go up.
What is the name of this book?
What is the
name of this book?
My name I don't remember. This you can find out in Google. It's a very famous book. Naam Janki, you should do because otherwise you can't buy the book. It is on the net. This is a very famous book actually. I am sorry I don't remember the name. Then there is this World Bank study which also has shown that in 1990 deficiency of important nutrition for the direct loss of 46 billion stability at Liberia. So what these studies actually, and there are several studies which have shown how health is related with labor productivity. So these are, but then following the growth theory, there was a phase of work on the impact of health on growth, because they incorporated some variables of health in the growth model. So several studies came up which looked at how health impacted on growth. But the most important was the initial study. Martin, this study is the most important study where they did 32,000 regressions with different combinations of variables in human capital, and they found that in more than 96% of the specifications, health turned out to be significant. So this shows that this is one of the most robust predictors of this is actually and then there were several. This particular was the inter-country study, but following this there were several country-specific studies which came up to see the impact of health on growth, and they found that health is an important component of growth.
Ma'am, is there any study for Indian context?
Yes?
Is there any study for the Indian context regarding health and the improvement in the income and all?
Yes, there are several
Indian studies.
There are several studies, and I can send you a list of those studies because I have prepared a list of those studies which have worked on these things. This is very simple. Let me tell you why people are doing so much of study. They have a growth model. In that model, they incorporate some component of health, and then they see how this has impacted on the on growth. That's it. So there are several studies, several PhD studies are actually based upon this kind of growth model, and they are trying to see how this is impacting the growth.
And there is some assessment of quantification of that impact. Positive impact is there, that is well accepted. But what is the quantum of that positive impact?
When you do when you do such kind of studies, much depends upon how you specify your model. What is the time period? Okay, so it is you cannot say that this is by 30% it will grow. I mean, you cannot really specifically say that this is the rate. This is the contribution of health to. It all depends upon what sometimes you don't even get. Like in that early study also 96% of specifications had shown that there is a positive relationship, but the 4% is still where you don't find any kind of relationship. Because you tried different combinations of variables. Okay. So but 96% is very significant, so we can say that we can say that there is a positive relationship. So it is not that by how much, it is like it has a positive effect. That is very important when you do such modeling. Okay. But when you do some specific analysis, then of course you can talk about
in a particular situation, in a particular model, what is the quantum that can be assessed.
Yeah, and also I found that health is more important than even education, because health is directly related with your productivity. So this is what is important in that case, because there is a competition in health and.
But is it a problem to measure impact of health versus education? Health is short term, education is long term. So you need to have a very long term series to even establish the impact of education.
There are some, this actually problem is actually discussed in the literature at length, the measurement problem. It is very difficult to measure certain variables correctly. And then, what people do is they put health and education both in the same equation. But both of them may be related.
Multicollinearity problem.
There is a kind of endogenic problem itself. So, and then there are certain variables which in the literature, try to take care of this endogeneity in health and education. But then where is the measurement? Where is the data on those variables?
Both correlate each other.
Yes.
So there is a synergistic effect.
Yeah, there is a synergy between them. So that is not taken care of. So there are several things. But in general, it is found that if you try and test both, it is health that normally, overtakes the effect of education. So normally in the literature, this is found.
In fact, for education also health is required. Health is required.
Exactly. This problem was discussed by.
Have it been established that health is better education? Maybe other way around also. That if you are better educated, you will be the.
So you are more concerned about. You are more concerned about health. Exactly. This time, absolutely.
Health is so important.
Gross in 2000, in this model of Grossman came in 1972, where he assumed that education affects health in the model. He has assumed that because he says that how much you enjoy your health, that depends upon your education level. So therefore he says that education determines your health. More educated you are, better health conscious you are, and there is a reason for that. Because if you are more educated, you are better placed, and if you are unhealthy, then the number of days lost will cause more income loss to you. Okay, if you are you are uneducated, you are just a casual labor. Unhealthy means now again marginal utility of money is assumed to be constant. Okay, then your loss may be very small. But if you are educated, okay, and you fall ill, in that case, number of days that you lose, that may lead to more loss of income to you. So therefore, he said that education affects your health consciousness and internal health. But in 2000, he talked about this simultaneity between health and education because his theory was criticized on that account. So he took a stock of all the criticism that was imposed on his theory, and then he tried to, respond to that kind of simultaneity between these two.
Maybe,
so he says
but
that
I think he was right in the very first place that education determines the level of enjoyment of your health. It's very true, even today.
And education also can make you aware about what are the health options available.
What are health options
But
available?
then, there is this theory which says that if you are healthy, then you can get education. If you are not, if you are not healthy, you are ill, then, there is no use of even education. Because ultimately, why education? To have return over a long period of time. But if you are not healthy, then you are not expecting. This is actually the better theory. Then you don't expect, more education.
Health is more primary space.
For instance, let me just complete that.
The education
One
is-
small example. For instance, South Africa. There is a very good example of South Africa, where HIV incidence actually increased to 25% at one point of time. And it was realized that because of this phenomenon which was happening there, people were not interested in working or getting themselves educated. Because they were not really seeing any kind of benefit by investing in education. Because mortality rate had become very high because of this 25% of incidence of HIV. So this is something which you can actually relate with what I am saying.
We have a sort of like better education lead to better job employment opportunity.
Yes.
Then you have got an income. You can also spend on healthcare.
Yes, exactly. This is what he said. But he said because,
I think both are correct.
he said it in other ways.
Both are co-directional kind of
But yeah,
They go side by side.
they go side by side. One reinforces the other.
yeah.
One is
Sort of boot step type of
Yes,
thing.
no.
Be very
Basically, there are theories which actually have to assume one is constant, one is given. Which is because theories cannot be written, theory means specific relationship. So theories are always assuming some relationship, some causal relationship. Because theory is always a causal relationship. Okay? But then, one theory says that this is a cause, the other theory says that this is the effect. Okay, so then this person, this Grossman himself, in 2000, this paper is online, this is MBER paper. There he actually considered all the criticism, all the kind of arguments, how the two are simultaneously related. And then, he says that this problem can be resolved through instrumental variables. But then, where is the data on instrumental? That is, we have to find some variable which is related with one, but not the other. The simultaneity is so strong that anything which talks about which leads to education also leads to health. So he says that one of the variables could be the perception, like you see the smoker. If a person is smoker, he is not health conscious. So perhaps you can take some kind of, you can assume that this person is not really conscious about health. So just look at his behavior. Just look at, the number of smokers in an education, something like that, he said. But actually, this doesn't really solve the problem.
But whenever you have a public intervention on, say, either health or education, that those can be data generated process might tell us to some extent maybe the extent of causality. Like there could be one village in which health intervention is done, and there could be another village. And in India, since so many experiments are going on, that could be, since they are already going on, so you can just study those, and that can to some extent shed a light which may be the causal factor, which may be.
Yeah, then you have to have some baseline survey first.
Yeah.
And then you intervene in the market.
You can first identify what are the variables you are looking at. Maybe the income could be one variable, and then see in one particular state or one particular village where health intervention was done, and what are the implications for the income. The other maybe education intervention was done, but that will be a very long-term study because education immediately will not give you return, whereas health will give you return immediately.
Exactly.
Education will be over 10 years, over 15 years, and
that, you have to actually
longitudinal surveys and all.
cultivate that kind of attitude among people that yes, it is going to give you return, to induce people to really get into education. Yeah. Yes, but this is a very difficult question to answer, very frankly speaking, because it is found in economics that anything that explains education that also has explained health. That is what is a problem here. And but still, if you take both of them together, you still find that health turn out to be more significant. Yes, experimental designs can be done here, but again, there is a problem of time horizon. What should be the time horizon? How you can actually look at them? So there are these issues which have come up in economics, but yes, people are still, the available evidence shows that health perhaps is more important variable because it is directly leading. Perhaps also it has a short-term impact. Okay, because perhaps it has a short-term impact. So this is into productivity.
Madam, when these studies were available in module Indian authority, Indian government to invest more in health, firstly, and then education in secondary? Was there shortage of funds or misplaced priorities as per your research?
As per my research, I will tell you, and maybe it is very atrocious, the reason that I have drawn out of it, the conclusion that I have drawn out of it is, but I will come to that. What stopped Indians from investing in health and education? When I come to Indian perspective, I will explain that. And I will show that we are talking about these models which came in the 70s, but actually this knowledge was given to us by some distinguished people right at the time of independence. I will tell you that. It came very late here. This was basically theoretical framework, but we had some very distinguished Indians who established that relationship much earlier, and they recommended the government, and despite that, government did not really adopt any kind of strategy for promoting education and health in this country. That's something very sad, and I will
So what is the relationship between the working hours and leadership?
The relationship is that, look, working hours and leisure are two different variables. Now these are connected by your illness, the time that goes into illness. Okay, so you have say 24 hours in a day. 24 hours you work 8 hours a day. The rest is the time that is available to you, whatever you do. But how much time you spend in leisure, that depends upon how healthy and fit you are. If you are ill, then you will be bedridden. For instance, many of you will find, I don't know what is your experience, but I find that at the end of the day, I feel so tired. I go back home and just get into the bed. I can't really go out and enjoy after that. You may see that I look very healthy. Yes, but somewhere there is a nutritional problem. That is not leisure. That is not leisure. You can actually enjoy. This is not. No, if you enjoy sleeping, that is one thing.
Now, I think the new research is indicating that if you have a healthy sleep, that's also very good.
Healthy sleep doesn't start at 7 o'clock. Healthy sleep starts at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. 8 hours is. Yeah. Depends. Yeah.
Okay, let me give you my example. I don't